I am really excited to introduce our moderator for tonight. Yohannes Abraham's public service career started right here in Virginia. He was born and raised in the Commonwealth, the son of Ethiopian immigrants, and he got his start in politics as a field organizer for Barack Obama's 2008 campaign. That launched a career that took him through both terms of the Obama White House and eventually to lead the 2020 Biden-Harris presidential transition, widely regarded as one of the best presidential transitions in modern history. He went on to serve as chief of staff on the National Security Council and then United States ambassador to ASEAN, thank you, where he negotiated the comprehensive strategic partnership that was praised by the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, as one of our best. He later chaired the transition planning for Vice President Harris's 2024 campaign. Yohannes is a distinguished policy fellow at Yale. He was co-chair of Governor Spanberger's transition team. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce your moderator for tonight's forum, Yohannes Abraham. Thank you.
All right. First, let me just say thank you to everybody for coming out and making it closer. How's that?
Better.
Well, it never hurts to thank people twice. Let me thank everybody for coming out. It's really inspiring to see a standing room only audience for a forum like this. I'm going to go over the rules and then introduce the candidates. And obviously, what we're all most interested in facilitating is hearing as much from them as possible. Just to go over the rules a little bit, the forum itself will go until the question period will go until 8:45 p.m., at which point we will begin closing statements from the candidates. The speaking order was determined by random draw. It is reflected in the seating order here. From my right to my left will be the initial speaking order, and we will rotate the speaking order each question. And that'll be the opening statement speaking order, and then we will also close with that speaking order as well. Each candidate will receive 2 minutes to respond to each question. Thank you for ever asked that. And I'd really ask folks to, it's okay to talk while I'm talking, but while the candidates are talking, I'd ask folks to, in particular, be respectful of their participation here. Now, I want to also remind everybody this is a forum and not a debate. As a result, we'll be asking candidates the same questions, trying to get their answers to them. But if one candidate directly and clearly invokes another candidate, that candidate will have the opportunity to respond. They'll have 30 seconds to respond. They can indicate their desire to respond by raising their hand, and I will call upon them at my discretion if I feel like they have been directly and clearly invoked by one of the other candidates in the race. And just as a reminder, 2 minutes per question for each candidate, and I will, unfortunately and very painfully, cut you off if necessary to allow this to be a fair process. So without much further ado, let me introduce the candidates one by one. This will also be in speaking order. Michael Duffin. Lorena Thorne-Bruner. Congressman Don Beyer. Adam Dunnigan. And Mo Sefildin. Now, before I turn it over to Michael Duffin to begin our opening statements, please have a seat. I just would ask, I've never seen this successfully executed at a forum or debate, but I'm going to try. If we could hold our applause till the end, it'll give us more time to hear from the candidates. They all just got a great round of applause on their way in. We'll be able to give them a great round of applause on their way out. If I could ask people to hold their applause between now and then, it'd be much appreciated. So with that, I will turn it over to Michael Duffin for his opening statement. think at the.
My name is Michael Duffin. I spent 12 years working at the State Department, including a decade countering terrorism. I protected our country from bad people. A year ago, I was part of a mass layoff implemented by DOGE. 1,300 foreign policy professionals were fired with a single email. Just said, "Dear colleague." Many of us haven't found jobs since. Unemployment's run out, benefits have run out, and our political appointees, God bless them, but they ran off to the think tanks. They ran off to the private sector. They had their White House, their NSC connections, no offense, by the way. And, you know, they were set up for a good career while we struggled. I faced ridicule from MAGA when I post about being a fired Fed, even when I don't even mention running for office. I get trolled by MAGA. It's just unbelievable. We're patriotic, or I was, I'm still patriotic, a nonpartisan public servant. Diplomacy matters, expertise matters. And I decided to run for office to fight for my colleagues, not only at the State Department, but at USAID and every other executive agency. This isn't just about federal employees. Everyone here, our economy depends on the federal government in Northern Virginia. Amazon's not replacing those jobs. Meta's not. And the jobs that people are finding are not paying their bills. And so we have people with Ivy League degrees who are driving for Uber, people who work for the government for over 20 years going to food pantries to support their families. This is unacceptable. Now, I started running because I felt Congressman Beyer was not fighting. He believes he has. Now, if you're a sports fan, you know that good coaches, people who are beloved, are often fired because they did not do the right job. They didn't fight enough. That's why I'm here. The fight for my neighbors, the people who have been forced to move, the people who have felt desperate, who haven't been able to speak out. And so whether it's the media or in this forum, I'm giving people a voice, including the people who still work at the State Department, who have to hold their tongue, who have to deal with the most, I don't want to swear here, I get worked out, but it's just, we need accountability. We need accountability. We need reform. We need justice. And now, regardless of the outcome, I'm fighting. I'm standing up. I'm doing my part. My name is Michael Duffin. Go to my website, duffin4va.com. Thank you.
Lorena Thorne-Bruner. Hey there.
I think I need. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? I'm really excited to be here to introduce myself to you. I feel so privileged to be here and able to be here because, quite frankly, I almost didn't make it because I had an accident on Friday. I fell down and fractured 3 ribs. So the thing is, I had an event to attend on Sunday where the other candidates were here, and I sent a message that I wouldn't attend. And the thing was, this was Friday, early in the morning, and the doctor said, no go. You cannot go to your event on Sunday. So the thing is this, I was determined to come here because a lot of people don't even know that I even exist as a candidate. I'm one woman running against 4 men, and I believe that women need to be representative. And I actually have run for public office before, okay? I am actually here. Some of you know that I don't live in this district. I'm actually from Stafford, but Stafford was supposed to become District 8, and I had signed up for District 8. And once the votes came through, I stayed for District 8 and found out that I could still remain in District 8. But the thing is, I have run twice for office as an unknown. I was asked to run, and I'm a former military wife, retired, semi-retired public school teacher. I've worked in a mother of five. I have been a vice president of public policy for nonprofit organizations. And I feel strongly, actually, I've always run and for women and what they can do in leadership. And I feel like right now we're not getting the leadership that we need to get rid of the leader of this present administration so that we can tackle the problems that he has created. If you notice, since this president has been in office, we are finding that there are more women standing up to this president, taking him to court and winning. And there should be more men, but actually that's the women that are doing it. And you know, most recently is one of the Congress women who went and sued our president for having his name on the Kennedy Center. And she's just the most recent one. And so I don't know why it is that women seem to have more of a backbone to stand up to him than the men. And the thing is, I think part of it is that we are losing more. Every time he puts something out.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're at time.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Don Byer, and I'm running for Congress. And I first want to thank Carla De La Pava for her wonderful 14 years, 12 years doing this. And good luck, Kim. And I love being part of this incredible Arlington Democratic Committee and community. And I want to thank Mike and Lorena, Adam, and Mo for having the courage to run and the courage to serve. I just want to give you 3 points. Number one, I have been committed to public service all of my life. My grandmother was Secretary Frances Perkins' right-hand woman for the 12 years she was secretary. My grandfather, Otto, was a close advisor to Presidents Roosevelt and Truman. My dad was a career Army officer. My mother was a school teacher. And I have tried to, all I've ever wanted to do in life is public service. Even a little car dealership I ran for 40 years, our central idea was doing the best customer service ever. Number two, I am committed to this community. My grandkids are fifth generation Northern Virginian. And over the years, I've led the largest high school dropout prevention program in Virginia. I led the DC campaign to prevent teen pregnancy. I was chairman of the Alexandria Community Foundation, on the founding board of the Independence Center here in Arlington, on the Epilepsy Foundation board. I founded the Northern Virginia Technology Committee. I was the first chair of the Virginia Disability Commission, and many, many more things, not including all the political campaigns that I've led with you. That's how I've gotten to know most of you, working for different people. And number three, I am committed to leading. That means articulating a clear vision and then doing the things to make it happen. So I'm the lead on the Hill on fusion energy, which for those of you who don't pay attention to, this is what will solve climate change, will end world poverty, 2 billion people out of poverty. It'll be the biggest thing. And also it will do wonderful things for your utility bills. Number two, AI is really exciting, but we have this huge problems with data centers and with truth and with privacy, and especially with existential risk. I co-chair the AI caucus. I have legislation working together with Republicans on almost all of these pieces. I frequently talk about serious mental illness. My oldest, as many of you know, has schizophrenia. I've been deeply involved in this personal family journey for 30 years. So I am right now leading the effort on the Hill to take care of those people in the middle that we took out of the mental homes, and we left them to the street and to the jails here in Arlington and Alexandria and Fairfax. And our income and wealth inequality, the worst in our history. I lead the billionaire income tax with our wonderful senator from Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. And with Chris Van Hollen, I lead the millionaire surtax of 10%. And then 10 years ago, I started the Suicide Prevention Caucus. We got the 988 number. We've got barriers on lots of bridges. We have a lot more to do. Bottom line, there's so much more to do. And taking back the House 18 weeks from yesterday is by far the biggest priority in the short run. We all want federal workers to get back to work, but we have to get rid of this president before we can do that. Thank you very much.
Adam Dunnigan.
How are we doing tonight, everybody? Good? Ready for a dialectic of ideas up here? My name is Adam Dunnigan. Show of hands, who has seen me speak before? Probably in this room. Yeah, quite a few of you. Remember when it was nobody? Remember when it was my first speech here at this stage and I had to give that speech to Congressman Byer? That was horrifying, right? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Congressman. There's no mystery to why somebody like me is in front of you tonight. I don't have a happy message. I don't have a lot of optimism in my political platform because my background does not come from a happy place. I grew up rough on the West Coast. I've been out here for about 14, 15 years now. So I am a Virginian, but I've been a lot of other places too. I've been the kind of dark places that nobody wants to go when I was in the Marine Corps and when I was a case officer at the Central Intelligence Agency. If I am standing here before you tonight saying that we need to change course, you should be really freaked out. And one problem that the Democratic Party is having nationally is a refusal, an obstinate refusal to consider other options when they are presented. Everybody saw what just happened in New York, right? Incumbents, yeah, the Democratic Socialists up there, Demsocs, yeah. Everybody saw what just happened in Colorado, right? Yeah, they should all be proud of themselves. And wouldn't it be nice if here in Virginia's 8th District, we could be proud of ourselves in the same way, if we chose to evolve this party, if we chose to step forward into a new era of American politics, and if we left the broken apparatus of the Democratic Party that has failed us behind. We can choose to do that here. And this district is the literal home of the Pentagon, the CIA, and half the federal workforce. That has been me since I enlisted in the Marine Corps at age 18. Service is all I've ever known. And yeah, a lot of my service was combat or combative, hostile, complex environments, finding value, analyzing networks, and bringing back things that were good for the United States. In a hostile, complex environment, if that's not the nation's capital right now, I don't know what is. So I'm sure we're going to get into deeper platform issues right now, but what I'm really bringing to the table is, that intentional step forward. We need to take it. We have to choose to take it together, and you can be part of that right now. I'm not asking for your vote when I stand up here. I'm asking for your sincere curiosity, your first principles of what you want for this country. And if you are voting the same way on August 4th that you voted 10 years ago, you're living wrong. Thank you, Raj.
Mo Sefeldin.
All right. Good evening, Arlington Dems. My name is Mo Saifuddin, and I just resigned from the federal government as an attorney in protest of the Trump administration attack on democracy and civil servants. And I am running for Congress for two simple reasons: the crisis of affordability and the crisis of accountability. But before I talk to you about my platform, I think it will be important to know where I come from, which may help inform you why I have these policies. You see, I came to this country as a refugee from a country called Sudan with my siblings and mother, parents. And we were fleeing a dictatorship that is doing, or did a lot of things similar to what this administration is doing right now. Like many of you, first generation American, I worked at McDonald's alongside my siblings and my mother just to make ends meet. In fact, there were so many of us when we worked there, people thought we owned the restaurant. It's still expensive to own a McDonald's to this day, but we're just trying to make ends meet. I know what it's like to go without health insurance. I know what it's like to carry a student debt, to return groceries at the front desk or when you go check out. And these policies informed my desire to fight for justice. So I went to law school and I became an attorney, and I came here and served people in Fairfax County. I was a court-appointed attorney for those who could not afford a lawyer. So my life has been about public service, but it didn't end there. I was fortunate enough to serve on the Alexandria City Council, where George Washington once served. That tells you about the American dream and the America that I know. And that is why I have these policies of accountability, affordability. For me, affordability talks about Medicare for all, universal childcare, affordable housing, when it comes to accountability, we have to make sure that our members of Congress are not beholden to the corporate interests or trading stocks, which is unfortunately has been done by our Congress member, right? Also, we have to make sure that the money that the taxpayers pay to the government goes to be spent on these issues about affordability that I talked about. It should not be going to Israel to help it commit genocide. These weapons should not be going to the United Arab Emirates to help it commit genocide in Sudan. That is why I will move forward with impeaching Trump the first thing I do when I get to Congress. Right now, as we speak, there are 2 articles of impeachment that have been introduced by Democrats, but our dear Congress member has refused to sign on to them. And I would like to hear his positions on those things today. So, when we get to August 4th, or whenever you go to the ballot, I ask you to look for the first name on the ballot. It is Mo Saifuddin.
Sorry, we're at
And let's go with Mo. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all the candidates for their opening statements, and to the audience for ignoring the no applause. Now that opening statements are out, maybe we'll give that rule another go. We're going to start in the same order that we did the opening statements in, with this question. Multiple candidates talked about the federal workforce and the damage that's been done to it by the Trump administration. What steps would you take in Congress to restore these jobs, protect the civil service, and what would you do right now for the thousands of Arlingtonians who've already lost their livelihoods and can't wait for a change in majority?
We have 2 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you for the question. This is the central pillar of my platform, and we need to be irritants to the Republican members of Congress. I don't want to pass any budget if it doesn't include reinstatement of federal employees. These jobs are not coming back, as I said in my introduction, unless Congress intervenes. And so what Congressman Beyer said, wait 2.5 years until Donald Trump's gone. If he's gone, if a Republican's gone, my family's not going to be here. We're going to have to move away. We're going to have to sell our homes like our neighbors. So that's why Democrats need to fight. Give it everything they got. They need to socialize. They need to explain in the media, not just MSNBC and, talking in an echo chamber, but on conservative media, why the federal government matters. Don Byer's been in office since 2015. That's the same time that Donald Trump started attacking federal employees. He hasn't pushed back. When he has opportunities on national media, he talks about a lot of other stuff. We all have similar priorities, but it's the order of those priorities. And I learned at the State Department, whatever your 4th and 5th priorities are, you're not going to actually do them. And it's also about achievability. Now, Mo has talked about universal childcare. I would love that. I have 2 young kids. I have lived experience in terms of, the affordability crisis, losing my job. It's not going to happen. If it's going to take a long time for that to happen. So I believe in the same goals. Medicare for all. Yes, absolutely. Let's fight for it. But let's focus on what we can achieve in the 120th Congress. Because this pie in the sky stuff, I voted for Ralph Nader in 2000. It was fool's gold. Yeah, it was. Bush won because we voted for Ralph Nader. So thank you.
Thank you. Lorena Thorne-Bruner.
Can you repeat the question?
What steps would you take in the next Congress to restore federal jobs, protect the civil service, and what would you do right now for the thousands of Arlingtonians who've already lost their livelihoods and can't wait for a change in majority?
I think I agree. Hello? Okay. I agree with my colleague here. I actually am a former military spouse of an Air Force jet fighter pilot. I spent our first career overseas in England for 5 years. I'm a mother of 5. My second born was born there. I believe we need to get rid of the president administration, Congress, first thing first, and restore our federal jobs. The military is federal. I mean, it's ridiculous. The president administration doesn't respect the military. We need to bring our military service members back, our leadership, our federal government jobs. These people, we need to have our jobs back all across the board. And anyone in Congress is not fighting to remove the top of the administration first, is not seeing how we are all affected, all Democrats, all minorities, women, especially. I mean, I've always done public policy, especially for women. We are hit first. So we need to get our jobs back, get rid of the leader in charge so that we can focus on getting our federal jobs back. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Michael doesn't feel like I've done enough for the federal employees. I've done everything I can think to do. I was at USAID the day they closed it down. I was at NOAA the day they closed it down. I've been at OPM the day they closed it down. I've been in front of the Interior Department. The two major pieces of legislation, the Rehire Act, which would rehire Michael Duffin when we take back the House, or when the president would sign it, is my bill. The bill on protecting the Merit Citizen Protection Board, my bill. And to Michael's point, we're not waiting 2.5 years. We're waiting until we take the Congress back. 6 months from today, the 120th Congress will come in and we will have control over the budget. Michael suggests that we should have shut down the budget. Well, we did shut down the budget over ICE and DHS for the longest shutdown in American history. It was getting very, very unpopular with the American people. As much as I love our federal employees, and I do, I'm coming from a whole family of federal employees, we did think that taking care of what ICE was doing and CPB was doing was a more important thing at the time. There's much more that we have to do. Mo talked about impeachment. I encourage you to read the two impeachment bills that are out there. They're poorly written. They are not thoughtful. When we impeached Donald Trump in 2019 and 2021, we had the Congress. We put all the efforts behind the Congress to do really deep research. We had the best teams. We don't get any of that right now. We can't even pass a rule in Congress. They sent us all home last night. So it's not happening this year. By the way, I've voted to impeach Donald Trump more than any person in the history of the country. It sounds a little weird, but we had proxy votes. I got to vote to impeach him 6 times. And I'll be happy to again when we take back the House and actually have the structure to be able to do it. We signed an impeachment petition right now. Fine, it does nothing. It will never get to the House floor. There'll never be a discharge petition. And in any case, we don't have half the federal employees, but we do have 70,000. And I will continue to do everything I can. Job fairs, linking them up with all the social services. We've done fiscal training for them. And we've taken every federal employee meeting that I've been asked to take,
Thank you,
to try to help people in.
Thank you. Mo Sefaldine has 30 seconds to respond since he was invoked clearly.
Thank you, Congressmember. If they were poorly written, why didn't you write one? And second thing, they were written by 2 professors. I read them. They cover everything that Donald Trump has done. So I find that very challenging to believe. The second part, whether it passes or the Senate passes it, as you said to Alex now, you are forgetting something major. As a Congress member, the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2 says the sole impeachment belongs to you. By you refusing to do that, you're delegating your duty and not doing what the people are asking you for, at least to deter other people that will come after Donald Trump.
Time's up. Thank you. Thank you.
Ooh, okay, now we're at it, yeah? Get it, get them. Okay. So I'll also kind of tap into both sides of this. This is why we're out of power. The failure to act when it's justified to do so, when we need to do so. Being 2 minutes too late really kills us a lot. But then when we have these conversations, we eat each other. We self-cannibalize, right? You know who doesn't do that? And you know who doesn't make the excuse of being a minority party? The Republicans when they're out of power. Y'all remember Project 2025, right? You all are living Project 2025 right now because of the failures of a political generation that failed to proactively put in place the defenses you deserved, I deserved, and everybody we know. That's happening right now. And you can take a look at the stage, all the candidates up here. We can talk about a platform, but you know, a Democrat's a Democrat, and anybody with a pulse that has blue next to their name is going to win this. I want whoever wins this next to have that proactive mindset. I want whoever wins this next to have lived the experience of the people who are suffering. I resigned from CIA 3 years short of my pension because I believe that this is that important. I am not here by accident, and I am not going to countenance this kind of acrimony because it is counterproductive to the party. Let's talk about it like men. Thank you.
Most FLD.
Well, that's that Marine mentality. I love it though. Thank you, Adam. So the question, I think, what would you do for federal workers? And to be frank with you, I resigned and I'm currently unemployed because, as Adam said, I do agree with him. This is that important. As I said in the beginning, I came to this country fleeing a dictatorship that followed the same playbook, attacked the opposition, the press, the free people, and everything else that you can think of, the education. So once we take control, and as the Congress member said, we do have the control of the budget. There's several ways we can do that. And if we must shut the government down, we have to. But we cannot shut the government down like we caved this time around. We shut it down for almost 40 days, but we caved. And as a result, almost 3 or 24 million people lost health insurance or access to it, or prices went up. So if you're going to act and step forward, make sure that you act with conviction and not be controlled opposition or passive opposition. Either you do or do not. There's no try, as Yoda said. Thank you.
Also, I do want to say that there is a woman here too, as well. So women have to stand up. Okay, thank you.
I would just ask folks not to speak out of order, but I am going to you next, Lorena Thornbrunner, with our next question. We are rotating the speaking order on this one. What is your realistic strategy to lower healthcare costs for people in our district? Sorry, what is your realistic strategy for lowering healthcare costs for citizens, for people in our district?
Okay, to lower healthcare costs, what we need to do, first of all, is we have to get rid of the president. Because every time, this is very frustrating, every time we try to do something, he knocks it down. And like I said, the last woman that was head of Congress was Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi. And I have to say, I'm from San Francisco, all right? Born and raised originally. And so, you know, I know she's a fighter, and I noticed that she wasn't afraid to stand up to him and help us as a woman, help us be a leader to do what we have to do. And the thing is, what's the point of trying to lower, you know, put up legislation to change to the president to lower, you know, Medicare, and when the president is just going to knock it down because he has the Supreme Court supporting him. So we need to stretch the Supreme Court so that we have 13 people, and we need to get rid of his leadership so that we can realistically be able to take care, lower medication prices, among other things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The very first thing that we hopefully can get done this year in this Congress in the next 6 months is actually rein in pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs. Right now, they're vertically integrated with the insurance companies and even the hospital chains. And so you get all kinds of extra higher prices that shouldn't be there. That's bipartisan. I'm optimistic. When we take back the House, and that comes into 18 weeks from yesterday, very first bill I'm pretty sure is going to be restoring the tax credits for the Affordable Care Act. In Virginia, we lost 35,000 people in one day who lost their Affordable Care Act insurance. And then the big, beautiful, ugly bill was $1 trillion in Medicare tax cuts, Medicaid rather. It doesn't go into effect till after the election because they didn't want it affecting the election, but it will cost between 15 and 17 million Americans. Once again, we were not going to have a president, but we're going to have control of the House. I hope control of the Senate based on the polling numbers. So we'll be able to put legislation on Donald Trump's desk that reverse both of those. But there's much more to do. We've all, I think, up here committed to Medicare for all. We need a single payer system. We need to take the insurance companies ultimately out of the thing. We spend 20% of our GDP on healthcare. Roughly 3 to 4% of it just goes to insurance company profits. And you know, we will be fighting for that. We'll do our best to do it in the 20th Congress. We're probably going to have to continue to build the majorities, and you're likely we're going to need a Democratic president. By the way, in all the back and forth that we have here about, you know, what we've done, what we haven't done, one thing that's really important to remember, and Arlingtonians know this, is that elections matter. And I was among many of you here who spent most of 2024 trying to make sure that Joe Biden and then Kamala Harris were going to be elected. We spent every weekend, Saturday and Sunday through the summer and fall, doing door knock kickoffs here and in Pennsylvania and elsewhere. And if you didn't put all your heart and effort into winning that election, it's hard to complain about it right now.
Yep, I think everybody up here has the same plan for healthcare. If the subject is we need to lower healthcare costs, decoupling insurance from healthcare is the iterative piece that you could probably get some bipartisan buy-in on, but it has to end in a single-payer healthcare system, Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it. I prefer that we work the other side a little bit with some informational, intellectual judo and get them to buy in on it, right? My whole job, if you're talking about getting bipartisan buy-in on things that are important to our party, my whole job was to convince Chinese or Russian intelligence officers to work for the United States government. You know, send me at some junior congressman from Kentucky and see what I can bring you back. I guarantee you, I could probably get you somebody that would be closer to our ideals by the end of the day. That's my skill set, and I'm happy to use it. I want to use it. The other part of this issue is, yeah, the healthcare monopolies that have cropped up in this country, the vertical integration that Congressman Byer mentioned. Yeah, that's a real thing that is killing this country. Big pharma, and all of the PACs and super PACs that these companies fund to sway votes in our Congress. Now, to be clear, I do not think any vote that Congressman Byer has put out there has been compromised by his association with his finance. But you know what has been compromised in the eyes of every voter we need to get the majorities we're talking about? Anybody who's engaged in this kind of dirty finance. It's not fair, but perception is reality in the minds of voters. And if we want to win the presidency in 2028, we need to start putting people forward that are talking just like this and keep their finance clean from day one. And I encourage you guys to go to my website. I got a whole political ethics pledge, keeping finance clean from the very start. I have done and will continue to do. That's what you need out there to build trust back in the electorate such that we can actually move on single payer healthcare. That's what I got.
Thank you. So the underlying word there, realistic. For me, Medicare for all is realistic, but there's a hindrance to it. And if you look at the polls right now, the majority of Americans, including Republicans, independents, support Medicare for all. The common denominator here is that both sides of the aisle are too cozy with the special interest in the corporate PACs. And as a result, you may get some people who support it and the majority who aren't going to do it. Congressman Byer supports Medicare for all. I believe him, but he also takes money from HCA Healthcare, one of the biggest anti-Medicare for all PAC. It makes no sense to me when people are sick and dying that our members of Congress are taking money from these corporations, right? I talked earlier about passive opposition and control opposition. I think this is what we're talking about here. Our peer nations, the Europeans, have it. Studies across the world show that they have Medicare for all. In fact, if we do it in the US independence research, and you can double check me on this, it'll save us $450 billion annually than what we spend right now. So if this was your home and you could do something to lower your costs, increase your life expectancy, I think you would do it, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or someone who doesn't participate in the process. But we have to stop talking about this incrementalism, this passive opposition that we gotta do trickle down things. I'm sure I'm all for giving back the tax credits and everything that we do to mitigate the damages while we get this done, which I recognize will take some time. But we got to be realistic about what we want and what the people want, and we have to respond to it accordingly. There's no reason for us to be taking corporate PAC money or anything of that nature. So I urge you that when you hear these type of things, think carefully. And here's what you're going to hear from some of the Democrats running in 2028 when it comes to a healthcare issue. You're going to be hearing, let's do, and this is just curious, let's do free primary care instead of Medicare for all, because they recognize that the people want it and now it's supported by the majority. So to pacify us, they're going to go for primary care.
Thank you.
Does he want?
No. That was good.
Okay. I want to touch on something that Adam said. I appreciate his service as a Marine, as a CIA case officer. The spy tradecraft doesn't belong in this country. It doesn't belong in Congress. You're not manipulating members of Congress like you would a Russian or a Chinese spy. So just cut it out, because you say that all the time. I respect your service, but Mitch McConnell or a junior member of a Republican is not a Chinese spy you're trying to turn. And you're just ruining, this is stuff that's going to blow back against us. It's about winning over an argument. Like you said, it's about the actual thought and not blackmailing a member of Congress. It's just bullshit. So, all right, we all agree on Medicaid for all, Medicare for all, but how are we going to lower costs? I've seen with my hospital, MedStar, it was originally Georgetown Hospital. Now it's taken over by a corporation. My doctors have moved out of state. They cannot afford to remain in the medical practices because of rising costs of liability insurance, and corporations that are running the hospitals are paying them less, so they're going into private practice. We need to make sure that we put a cap on. In addition to insulin, there are vital medicines that people, whether they have insurance or not, they need that medicine, and we need to make sure that they can afford it. And also, even people who have health insurance, copays, especially if you have young kids, it's $35 for a regular doctor, $45 for a specialist. That adds up, especially when you have fevers and the cold season and all that stuff. So it's just, I find that people who have health savings accounts and people who have kids, they have insurance on paper, but they're not using it. And so I want to, in addition to aiming to have Medicare for all,
Thank you.
I want to make sure that we can lower costs.
Thank you. Yes. 30 seconds in
To be
response.
clear, I didn't quite mean that I was going to go, assassinate members of Congress for the record. So they're all safe. I promise you, Michael. But I do think that unwillingness. Yeah, because it's my stump speech, buddy. So the idea that we would put tools available to us away because they make you personally uncomfortable, that you don't have the expeditionary mindset to do what is necessary to save this country, I mean, that's fine. That's fine.
Next question. I've got a couple texts to talk into the mic more. I apologize. I've never been too tall for a microphone in my life. Starting with Congressman Beyer, if Democrats retake the House in November, what will be your oversight priorities with the enhanced powers Democrats will have?
Let me move to that second, Yohannes, please, because I want to talk about corporate PACs for a minute. How many here hate gerrymandering? How many people voted yes on April 21st? The point is made. Corporate PACs are legal. And right now, if we don't take the PAC money, they win a lot more elections. In the last Congress, I chaired the red to blue, Colleen Brown and I. We won 11 seats. Of those 11 seats, we raised more money, those candidates, than the Republican that they beat. We lost 3 seats. Those candidates didn't raise as much money as the Republican who beat them. And so, yes, thank you, Adam. I've never had the money that we take affect a vote. Almost all of it. In fact, I've looked today. Every PAC dollar I've raised, I've given to somebody else. By the way, you know who the people I give to? The ones who don't take corporate PAC money. They're perfectly happy to take it from me. Right there. I also take PAC money from labor unions, from environmental groups, from teacher groups, from all the ones that are out there who use the PAC system to funnel money on things that they really care about. So yeah, and by the way, I would love for there to be no PACs at all. Get rid of Citizens United, take money out of politics. But in the meantime, we got to fight fire with fire. And to Yohannes' question, which was, now that I've forgotten it all, 30 seconds ago.
Your oversight.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, thank you. But by the way, I can give you my list. Right now the Oversight Committee is really, really important, chaired by Robert Garcia. Jerry Connolly did before that. But it will open up, when we take back the House, there are oversight committees on every other committee. So I am raising my hand to be the chair of the Oversight Committee on Ways and Means, because that's where we go really deep on what's happening to Social Security, at the IRS, all of Trump's tax returns, all the financial stuff. We can do really, by the way, the size of our committees triples when we take back the House. So our ability to do really good independent work. And by the way, we may get a successful impeachment. We won't get a successful conviction. We get a successful impeachment in the next Congress. But which we're likely to get the best is the oversight.
Oversight priorities. I love this question. I would want to be on the foreign affairs, oversight and intel, because I worked a lot with those guys. I know them. I know where they were failing. It's part of the reason I'm here talking to you right now. I have seen the consequences of uncurious leadership, not just in the White House, but on these oversight committees as well. You have no idea what it's like to watch people die that don't have to because of bad policy and worse implementation. You have no idea what it's like to have elected officials come down to your country, come out to your country where you've been serving, getting your hands dirty, and know nothing about the area that they're walking into. So yeah, that's part of my anger that put me into politics in the first place. And for all you guys that don't know, I've only been here for about 6 months. I resigned in December, so look how far I've come, yeah? The other side of that is we just had a whole war in Iran, right? We just lost a war in Iran, right? We are going to pay more money by ratio than Germany paid after World War I. And we all remember how that worked out for the world, right? Yeah, it really makes me scared. You know who was negotiating on behalf of the United States overseas? Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, two real estate boys. We have mechanisms, even in the minority, available to us to call them to account, to have to explain to the American people what they did, when they did it, and put them under oath. And God damn it, if they lie, send them to jail. Take them out. That's what I'm gonna do. That's true accountability, because accountability is consequences. And these guys, these lunatics that took over our government, they need to see consequences. Thank you.
Oversight priorities.
Okay, so oversight priorities, I agree with Adam. I think we got to roll everyone up front, have hearings, figure out what happened, whether it be Doge taking our information, self-dealings with the Trump administration, the killing of innocent American by ICE on camera, and nothing being done about it. A whole lot of things that we need to do, of course, for me, impeaching Donald Trump and getting him out, holding Pete Hexas liable and guilty for the crimes of killing innocent fishermen in international waters, making sure that everyone that participated in funding the genocide in Gaza and Sudan is held accountable. But to go back to the points about corporate PAC money that the Congress member was talking about quickly, he proudly says that he takes corporate PAC money. And I respect that he's at least honest about it. He says that he takes it and gives it to other Democrats. I think that's the problem a lot of the Democratic base is having. Over 70% of Americans, not just the Democrats, saying that this should not be happening with anyone. But yet it happens again. And the problem for us on the left wing of the party is when you take that money and give it to other candidates, you are putting forth other candidates who are like-minded, who are beholding and bend the knee to the corporate interests. And that's why there's anger. And that's why you seem out of touch when you say something like that proudly that is written. So I would urge you to reconsider that. Listen to the voters. Listen to the Americans. Be an example. You are a leader. Lead. The Supreme Court yesterday just even took a deeper knife to the back of, holding accountability and making sure that people can spend all sort of money, Democrats, Republicans, all alike. So you have to listen to the people, Congressmember. This is why you are a representative. 70% of Americans want this. Why should we listen to, you're here to serve us, not to do what you necessarily think is always right all the time. So please listen to the people. We value your judgment and your service, but listen to the people. This is what the people want. And you said, whether it affects your votes or not, I cannot say. I don't know what your motives are, but here's an example that I have from 2015.
Time's
when
up.
you voted
Time's up.
to gut
Time's up.
Dodd-Frank
Time's up.
Act,
Time's up.
and you take money
Time's
from
up. Time's up. Sorry, I'm sorry, but we're gonna enforce time. Time's
you
up.
take money from bank
Time's up. Time's up.
pack, look it up.
Time's up.
Bank, look it up.
Time's up. Yes, Congressman Byer, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Gutting the Dodd-Frank Act, but it was my second day in office. It was a vote to move one of the deadlines from 15 days to 30 days. Jim Moran had voted for it 3 times. I voted for it. It didn't pass. But yeah, a lot of people said it had no impact on Dodd-Frank whatsoever. So it's just a lie. So, oh, now I got to.
That was a response. That was a response.
Take that back. That's a misunderstanding on the part of the vice president.
We're gonna go to Michael Duffin.
Thank you. I got it, sir.
We're gonna go to Michael Duffin.
Everything we were talking about, it requires, we need to, we have a filibuster. And so I don't anticipate if and when Democrats take control of the House and hopefully the Senate, that they're going to get rid of the filibuster. So well, it'll be used against us. And so, hey, there's no debate here. But point is that we need to work across the aisle, and we need to find ways to socialize our ideas with the rest of America, because I've experienced this where I thought me just saying I'm a patriotic, nonpartisan public servant, people would support that. And I just got a lot of hate from MAGA people, and there's a lot of disinformation out there. So everything we're talking about, we need to think long-term how people in Nebraska and people in rural Delaware and rural Maryland will receive this, and we need to win more seats. And we just are not at that point where we could pass a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. So in terms of committees, naturally, I would want to be on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and also the Homeland Security Committee, because I've worked closely with DHS for 10 years. I understand how the organization works. I do not want people who have done nothing wrong, who have followed the law, who work at ICE and CBP, to be penalized. Whatever. The same treatment that the way that Doge treated us, I don't want to do that to innocent public servants. It's not a debate.
Thank you.
Okay, give me the question again.
No, your time.
I'm sorry, but
your
catcalling by
your time is up.
supporters is not.
Your time is up. We're going to pass it on to the next person. Your oversight priorities, if you were elected and Democrats were to retake the majority.
Okay, one of my oversight priorities is actually two areas that affect minorities and women. First of all, the immigration. That's a top priority that needs to be addressed, because I keep stressing the fact that I'm a minority. All of us here are minorities, okay? We're a family of minorities. Democrats are minorities. But some of us are affected as a minority more than others. I'm a woman. We've been affected by this negatively by this present administration. You know, we've lost our rights. I have immigrants in my family that are afraid that they could be married in-laws that could be picked up off the streets. I have, the in-laws. I have grandchildren that are affected by it. I mean, the thing is, we need to address this thing about immigration, how people are being kidnapped. What about, the alligator island in Florida, those people that disappeared? We still don't know where they are. So we need to stand up. Like, first thing, I'd be there, well, where are those people that are disappeared? We don't know if they're alive or dead or on planet Mars. We need, you can't just sweep this stuff under the rug. So we need to address that. Where are immigrants? Where are people that are disappeared, dead or alive? In the meantime, his family is getting rich off of our money that we need to get our Medicare from. We need to get our food. We can't afford gas. I have children that are trying to go to college. They can't go to school because he's taken over everything else. So we need to, too much has been swept under the rug. So we need to address now. Thank you.
Before we go to the next question, just want to address two things. Michael Duffin raised the point of supporters heckling other candidates. I would just ask everyone to be respectful of people's answers. One, and then two, as I mentioned at the top, people have the opportunity to respond if they are invoked, but we're not going to get into extended back and forths. If someone is invoked clearly and directly, that person will get a 30-second response, and then it'll stop there and we'll go on to the next question and or the next speaker. So with that, Adam Dunnigan.
Energy policy.
I'm now going to go to a few questions that we've gotten from the audience and make it a little more open-ended and say, what are your national security and foreign policy priorities if you were to be elected to Congress?
Sure. The first priority is reestablishing American credibility in multilateral institutions. One thing that kills me is watching us hollow out our reputation and our promises to our allies, like Ukraine. Everyone in this room should be ashamed of the slow roll that the U.S. government gave to aid to Ukraine. Those boys are the best of us out there, and I know several of them personally from my time. The other part of establishing American credibility back is American soft power. Raise your hand in here if you or someone you know work for USAID or state and foreign aid capacity. Yeah, look at all you guys. Look how they massacred our boy, right? There are so many initiatives right now talking about parallel institutions. I made the comparison with Project 2025. There are so many initiatives out there right now that could rebuild and revitalize the concept of American soft power. And I want to give that oxygen. And you know what? We can do that even under the end of the Trump presidency. We can do that right now if we have the commitment, but it's going to take some intellectual judo with them, you know? Call it USAI Trump or whatever, but as long as kids stop dying overseas, I'm okay with that. And I'm willing to play in the margins of what is possible so that we meet our moral commitments, not just to the rest of the world, but to ourselves. That we become the kind of country that stands when it's right and commits to our allies in durable ways that gets outcomes that benefit not just us, but stability abroad. You know, I'm a military guy by origin, but I am a pragmatist above all else. And we make more stability and security for our own country by investing abroad, and the math all shows it. So yeah, I will be a staunch ally of those projects when I get into office. Absolutely. Thank you.
So with national security, I would agree with Adam, but I would also add that we have to restore our place in the world, go back to the UN, go back to diplomacy instead of just using kinetic energy and guns to solve our problems. It clearly hasn't worked in Iran. It's not going to work. So we also have to be careful with the allies that we listen to. And one of the other things we really had to think about is how do we talk about Israel, our relationship with Israel. It just took us to a war that we lost, cost a whole lot of lives all around the world, a whole lot of money here, abroad, also strain our relationship with allies in the Gulf states because they're getting hit badly. So we have to assess that. We also have to see what we've done in Venezuela. We have to support our friends in Ukraine, but also restore our relationship with Europeans, the Transatlantic Alliance. So I agree with that. I think that's really important. What I would go back is, you know, being a lawyer, when you're in court, you're expected to behave a certain way. And there are certain words you just don't use, even how aggressively you disagree with the other person. And the conduct from the Congress member and the word that he used, I will not use, and I will not attack him personally. I only go after the record and the facts. So, you know, as Obama said, when they go low, I'll go high. But if you're a journalist here, please verify what I'm saying. In 2019, Congress Breyer voted to roll back some of the regulations on the Dodd-Frank Act. That's HR 37, and he was one of 29 Democrats. Even Nancy Pelosi voted against it. And the reference to the Volcker rule that you're talking about, you were going to delay it for 2 years, not roll it back. What would that have done? Allow banks to gamble with taxpayers' money. And that's why I said there's a connection between that and the money you take from bank PAC, very creative name, but I'm not going against your integrity or your motive. These are simply the facts, and I'm stating them. Thank you so much.
In addition to bringing back federal employees at the State Department, restoring USAID, it's important to restore Congress's authority. And what we have seen over multiple administrations, a war is no longer a war. We're calling it, or Trump's calling it, or different executive branch agents, you know, the executive branch is calling it different things to allow them to bomb, you know, Iran or other countries. I also want to make sure that we do not, we're building schools overseas, not bombing them, or giving other people the bombs to kill children. We need to make sure that AI is not being used to select targets. And at the very least, make sure that a human is verifying targets before you know, those bombs are dropped. I would want to have a full audit, independent audit of the Pentagon. I support us having the weapons. I feel like we're not equipped for modern warfare. Ukraine has exposed a weakness with Russia. And if we had an adversary on our border, I feel they would expose the same thing. Also, in terms of diplomacy, I built transatlantic partnerships over 12 years at the State Department. I countered human trafficking. I held countries like Pakistan and Uzbekistan that lobbied very hard to have a softer rating in the Trafficking in Persons report. I handed it to them. I held them accountable. And I want to empower our cities because right now, mayors are leading innovation. They're the leaders on climate change. I spent a decade building a network that included Charlottesville, Orlando, Alexandria, cities around the world, and it was destroyed in an instant. So we need to bring diplomacy back, and we need to make sure that the money that's allocated by Congress is actually spent for those purposes and not illegally repurposed by the Trump administration.
Okay, what I'm interested in is expanding the court so that Trump doesn't get all the free-for-all he's getting to do what he wants with our money and spending it on himself and his family and his buddies. Also, there are 3 women in the court now. And even if they get together and vote for something that helps us, the minorities, then the other, 7 or 8, they vote against it. So he still gets his way. So the thing is, we need to take the power away from the president and his administration. We need to expand the court. And that will make a very big difference across the board. Okay, thank you.
First, I want to make clear that I was not calling Mo a liar. And if you took that at all, I apologize. What I said is the thing that he was reading about was completely incorrect. By the way, it was not 2019. It was my second day in office, 2015. No,
January 15, if I
Thank you.
apologize. January
Yeah.
2015.
And you'll all be happy to know that Dodd-Frank is still running strong. On the issue of what we do for policy, the number one thing I would do would be to roll back Trump's tariffs. It has been a national sales tax. It has cost us something like $1,700 per family. I'm the lead on taking back the IEEPA authority, which is the emergency tariff authority from Trump. It has been the biggest thing to destroy our reputation around the world because it's affected all those other economies. I had a meeting yesterday morning with folks from the German Marshall Fund who said our popularity in Germany right now is 7%, and largely for many things, including tariffs. Number 2 is I rebuild NATO credibility. The countries in Europe right now don't believe that we will be there for them in case there's, for example, a Russian invasion. And which leads to things like France trying to do its own nuclear umbrella because they don't trust ours anymore. Number 3, picking up what Adam said, is soft power. I was a ambassador to Switzerland and Liechtenstein for 4 years. That was all about soft power, having as many connections as possible and talking and projecting American values. I've met with over 50 foreign ambassadors to the United States from Thailand, Cambodia, Japan, Cuba, even the one from China a couple of times to talk about how we can overcome these things. And 4th, arms control. New START, the last biggest arms control agreement, is about to expire. China is planning on tripling its nuclear weapons. This administration under Trump is planning to do all kinds of tactical nuclear weapons, which we'd already taken out of Europe. We were moving way in the wrong direction from where we had been in the years of Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, and others.
Thank you. Next question is an amalgamation again of a number of audience questions. If you get elected, what role do you see yourself playing in not only supporting Democratic victories in Virginia, but around the country and improving the brand of the Democratic Party?
Thank you. And again, yes, if I misspoke about the date, it was January 2015. So I think it's really important that, we're having this healthy debate internally as a family, but when it's over, we know what we're up against. So we have to be united strong and make sure that we are supporting Democrats across the board. I would have Congress down Byer over any Republican in Virginia at any given time. So let's not mistake that the friendly competition here today is anything other than that. So I think you use the bully pulpit. You got to build on the coalition, but we also really have to make sure that we are serving everyone within the party. We are a big tent, and it can be difficult at times to appease everyone, but we have to at least make sure people are listening. If you looked at the 2024 election, some people just wanted to get on stage to share their views, but they were not allowed, not even during the day. As a result, many of those people stayed home and we've lost, and look at the consequences, not just for us, our pockets, but to the world. So we have to be realistic. Once we're done with this heated debates, we go back and support each other. But we have to make sure that we're not only serving the corporate interests and the tax dodging billionaires. We are the party of the working people. We are not the party of the tax dodging billionaires. So as soon as we start serving that, I think you'll begin to see more Democrats coming back to the fold, and we can turn the tide. And I am very hopeful that we'll be able to do that. So let's make sure we have the right people in office who are willing to fight and stand 10 toes for us. We've seen what New York has done. We've seen what Denver has done. Those are the right people that we have who are unapologetic and standing on the truth and what the Democratic Party stands for. So thank you.
One critique on Congressman Byer, I want to be polite, and I feel like we've gotten out of hand in terms of, we need to criticize critique based on substance. And I want to make sure that, I respect this man incredibly. The more I learn about him, the more I respect him, even running against him. And I want to make sure that this seat, whoever wins, 99% likely he's going to win, is fighting for federal employees and advocating for us. And I feel that that's the thing that I'll just say, as of stepping back as a voter, he needs to have more voter engagement, because I feel, as a fired Fed, if I had an opportunity to go to an in-person town hall when all this was going down, he had town halls, that wasn't adequate. I wanted to be heard, and that's why I'm running. Now, in terms of what the Democrats need to do, we need to have an open, fair playing field for challengers, because the establishment will pick a favorite, just like, I'm sorry, Representative, the harp on you, but you and others in elected officials have chosen the winner in a competitive field in the first district. And there's some very good candidates, as you know. And so Congressman Walkinshaw, donating to Shannon Taylor, who may be a fine congresswoman if she wins, but it's stop putting your fingers, your hands on the scale, and let Democrats, the primaries, play themselves out. I think myself, I can play a good role as a surrogate in places where Trump has won. I come from Chicago, which is liberal, but there are a lot of Trump supporters there. And I've seen how the Democratic Party machine politics has turned off a lot of people. And I want to make sure that this is an existential battle we have now with Republicans, because they are intent on destroying the federal government. And that impacts my job and your job. Thank you.
I personally actually am like I said, I run for political office before locally. And I have a knack for, if I can get a person one-on-one, and I'm actually referring to the opposite party, oftentimes I can convince them to come on over to our side. So the thing is, don't underestimate your power, the power that you have to have a decent conversation with someone that is a Republican, because they're feeling the pain just like we are on this side. So the thing is, go out there. We all have the power to bring them over on our side to win. And that's what I intend to do. I know that I'm talking not just to Democrats about running, I'm talking to Republicans too. I talk to everybody when I'm taking petitions, I'm going door to door. I know how to have a decent conversation for people to come over the aisle. I know I have a gift for that. Quite easily, I have taken petitions, gone door to door, and I have a conversation and a person will say, you know what? I'm voting GOP down the line, but I'm stepping over and I'm voting for you. So what I'm saying is that don't ever underestimate your power. We do have the power to bring them over, and I can bring them over too. Thank you.
I really appreciate the question because everything I've heard from my friends on the panel tonight, other than the tax, I pretty much agree with. I really want the things that Michael, Lorena, Adam, and Mo have fight for. I want them to be real, which means we have to win seats in the House, we have to win seats in the Senate, and we have to take back the presidency. For 9.5 of the last 11.5 years, I've been the DCCC finance chair. So in charge of raising all the money for the House. I've raised $40 million with Colleen Brown's help in these last 9.5 years. I've mentioned only Nancy Pelosi's raised more and given more away than I have. Partly it's because I represent Arlington and Alexandria. You have a safe seat and it's 13 minutes to the Capitol. So I need to do something extra, which is to raise money for the other people. We're doing really good work. We have 25 red to blue candidates right now. If you don't know who they are, go home, type in DCCC red to blue, and you'll see Janelle Stelson and Rebecca Cook and Christina Bohannon. The folks today we think can win in November. And we will personally max out to every one of them and make sure that we're raising money for them. Second, I don't have a presidential candidate yet. I was Paul Simon's Virginia chair in 1988. I chaired Bill Clinton's campaign in Virginia in 92 and 96. As I've worked with many of you when we did Howard Dean's campaign out of Falls Church, where I was his treasurer, and we ran Virginia. I spent 2 years full-time on Obama campaign. For free. I went downtown every day and just stayed there for 40 hours a week, trying to make sure he got elected. And close to my heart, I was Pete Buttigieg's campaign chairman last time. And when he lost South Carolina, I called him that night. And Megan called me first from South Carolina, and I called Pete. I said, I think it might be time for you to talk to Joe and drop out and come together with him. And I'm not saying he did it the next day because of me, but I did suggest it to him. And so I'm hoping with you, we will get behind the person who can win in 2028 and take back the House, the Senate, and this presidency. And then the vision these wonderful candidates have all offered, we can make real.
Time's up.
Yeah, I don't think there's any controversy with anybody at this table right now. Our role in the party when it comes to electing Dems, yeah, we'll support Dems wherever they are. But who just won New York and who just won Colorado? They were the people that were not in this room. They were not the party favorites. They were not the people receiving the benefit of campaign finance from the national party. That should tell you something. Something's happening in this country, and it ain't in rooms like this, but it should be, and it could be, if we make it here. The reason that New York had such a good time up there is Mamdani got behind those candidates, right? And we love us a Mamdani. He has the star power. He has the narrative behind him that people can connect with, no matter where they are on the political spectrum. You have Republicans up there voting for a socialist. It's insane. And the reason it's possible is because there is narrative value in the fresh start. There is narrative value for this party to be seen as evolving. Congressman Byers says that our job is to win seats. No, it's not just that. There's two jobs. There's winning seats and there's evolving the party. And in safe spaces like this, safe democratic areas, we have a responsibility to evolve this party where we can. We should have a deep bench, we should have new ideas, and we should have new energy in these positions, or we are wasting the capacity of this district. We should be a flagship of the Democratic Party. And instead, we're just kind of next door to DC. I want to change that. I want to put some blood back in the veins of this party. That will be my role when I get to Congress.
Thank you. We'll move next to closing statements, and we'll do it in the starting order. So Michael Duffin. Closing statements.
Oh, closing statement.
2 minutes.
I have 2 young kids at home. I want to make sure that we can remain in Northern Virginia, this wonderful, tolerant community. And there are families across Northern Virginia now that are packing the moving trucks, that are moving away. I'm not a single issue candidate, but this is the most important issue to me. I've worked with my colleagues for 12 years, people who have PhDs from Harvard. I have 3 master's degrees. It's really tough to find a job these days. People are taking 50% pay cuts. They're working at Starbucks, Costco. They need hope. And so whether I get 1,000 or a lot more votes than that, this is my fight. And I have to say that as I said before, have a deep respect for Representative Beyer. And I just ask, if he's the winner, you got to remember the pain and suffering that my coworkers and others are feeling. And I want to make sure that that's your number one priority. And please, we need town halls, because I feel like, we can disagree about different topics, but eventually we come together and then we find ways to battle the Republicans who are trying to take away everything that we believe in. And I see this in Chicago, where people who were Democrats their entire lives are now full-fledged Republicans. So we need to have change. And I'm not saying that, you just have to step aside and, give one of us a chance, but we need to find a system with this House of Representatives that's more representative so we could deepen the bench. And
Thank you.
thank you.
My name is Lena Bruner, and I'm here to let you know that I am coming here from a different lens, one of which is the lens of a woman and an immigrants and minorities and a Democrat as well. And the thing is, I feel the pinch that you feel every day. I am a woman. I have lost my rights for personal decisions about my body. I have family and friends that are immigrants that are afraid that they may not be able to be looked upon, as an equal person and picked up at ICE. I am a teacher, semi-retired teacher, that I've gone to school as a teacher, and I've asked fellow teachers, because I've worked as a long-term substitute, and saying, why aren't a lot of the kids here at the end of the school year? And I'm told they won't come because they're afraid that ICE may come to the school and pick them up. So their kids are staying at home. I am a minority that's afraid that, like in Memphis, my right to vote is taken. And my kids are being hung and lynched in the South. I'm feeling the pain. And the thing is, you need to have someone that's feeling the pain like you do to represent you to do something today. Thank you.
First, thank all of you for coming and for staying to the bitter end. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Mike, Lorena, Adam, Mo. I do understand that when you're running against an incumbent, you have to give a reason to fire the incumbent. And I respect that. And I'll do my best to defend myself. I just want you to know that I feel very blessed. I have loving parents. I married my best friend. I have 4 wonderful children. And I've chosen to live a life of purpose and meaning. I like being your member of Congress. It's the opportunity to get up every day and try to be a change agent. Look at the things that are on the front page of the paper or coming from Midas Touch, whatever, and try to do something about it. Some of them are symbolic, like I'm leading the fight against that sacrilegious arch. And some of them are deeply, deeply important, like voting against the war in Iran and the war in Lebanon. I surrounded myself with the best policy people on the Hill. I say with no little pride that my staff is the best on the Hill. And they're really hard to leave. My constituent service team is legendary. Noah Simon, who was on the Arlington School Board, Barkat, Richard, Salam. They've done 35,000 individual cases over the last 11 years, trying to make people happy. And I get up ready to fight for you every single morning, do my very best. I look forward to the opportunity to represent you in the next 2 years, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Everybody, this was spicy tonight, right? I enjoyed it. My name is Adam Dunnigan. Y'all know already. Marine Corps, CIA, consequences, anger. I feel things like you do too. I agree with that. I agree with that point that we need it. What I also promise as part of my candidacy is to take forward the things that work to move Congressman Byers' reputation and legacy forward in a coherent way, but improve with energy, vigor, and fresh eyes. Break the logjam of ideology, of an old guard mode of thinking, and move into something new and different and good, right? The other thing I promise is, well, first of all, Congressman Byers, we're not firing you. We are retiring you. We're giving you some time off to enjoy it. The other thing I promise, and I haven't gotten into this explicitly, but if you're not aware of my ethics pledge, I am promising to self-term limit to keep that bench flowing, like Michael said, right? I am promising clean finance since the day I announce this candidacy till the day I leave office, whenever that is, and it will not be longer than 4 terms. I've already pledged to that. The other thing I'm promising is I think the electorate needs to see sacrifice, so I'm willing to do that for this district. So I am making a 50% donation pledge of any personal income while in office back to this district. In the military, the commander doesn't eat before the troops. In politics, we seem to have lost that mentality. I will bring it back if you let me. Finally, when I get into office, my main point that what I'm going to pursue are those consequences for everyone who sold this country out. Everyone who broke their promises to their fellow man, violated even common decency, they're getting voted out. And anyone who broke the Constitution or violated the law is going to jail. Thank you.
What's the score, guys? I'm really curious. Us? Yeah. All right. Okay. So good way to end. I really had an awesome closing statement that would have brought you up, but I'm going to highlight something. Genocide. This is a question that's being talked about all over the country within the Democratic Party. And most of us are against it, whether it be the genocide in Sudan, whether it be in Gaza. The UN just released a report saying that Israel committed genocide against the Palestinians, killing 20,000. I think anyone here would want that. But the term genocide has a meaning. And I haven't heard it from any of other people here. And there's no shade to them. If you cannot say the word genocide and acknowledge what's happening in the world, I have questions about whether you're going to stand up to Jeffries, whether you're going to stand up to Schumer, whether you're going to stand up to Mike Johnson, or the corporate interests, or Donald Trump. You have to be willing to call things what they are. And that's why I call what Israel is doing is genocide. So that's why I say that, and it's really important. The other thing is we must abolish ICE. Now, it's killing American people. Extrajudicial killing is unconstitutional. These things we shouldn't be debating about. This is just such backward, right? But let me tell you, all my life has been about public service. Coming to this country as a refugee who's taken me in and given me an opportunity to become a lawyer, serve on the city council, and pass a lot of things, working on affordable housing, public safety, immigrants' rights, protecting workers. When I got elected to council, I actually fired Trump's union buster so our workers can be unionized and we made our buses free. That is service. That is delivery. That is something that I provided. And I did not compromise my values. Didn't take money from special interests. Will not do it when I'm in Congress. I worked at the U.S. Department of Labor, doing everything that I can to protect American workers. And I will continue to do that work when I get to Congress. Go with Mo. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have to close very expeditiously because the parking garages are closing. So let's give one last round of applause to our candidates. And thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of this important conversation, and go say.